So as you probably know, I'm a researcher, and so I'd like to ask how many operators are in the room? Of any sort? Good. Vendors? Others? Distinguished analysts? Great. And how many of you are awake? Ah, 5. Good. Okay, we hope many more will be awake by the end of the session. So, my pleasure to be here this morning. Let me get oriented a bit. So this morning I'm going to bring a few findings from some of our research. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you. So there's no doubt operators are deploying SDN and NFV this year in our 5th annual survey of service providers around the world. 61 that control 61% of the world's CapEx. What we found was 100% of them are doing or planning SDN, 100% are doing or planning NFV. So just a point of reference. Here, you're not going to be able to see them, but here's a list of VNFs and the percent of operators that are planning to deploy them. So the point here is NFV all over the network, whether it's mobile core, the virtual CPE use case, the GI LAN, wherever, NFV. So how does this happen? What's the big goal? So 5 years ago when I started looking at SDN, I said, what is this really going to look like in the future? What does a future carrier network look like? Some of you may have seen this, but it's still instrumental, it's still instructive. So what I envisioned and then checked out with a number of CTOs from vendors and CTOs from operators in North America and Europe and China, in the end, there needs to be something that I call an orchestrator of orchestrators, and that's that big block at the top. It has services layer, a network layer, and then there's the real network down below. There's it's logically centralized, there's service models, device models, but the big idea is automation so that the network itself at the bottom, whether it's servers running NFV or SDN optimized network hardware, there's telemetry from it. It gets analyzed watching flows, watching traffic, watching the characteristics of individual customer traffic. And initially, some analytics are done with immediate feedback. I call that small data. And then big data, feeding back into the OSS, feeding it back into the orchestrator of orchestrators. We're not there today, but we're partway there. But the whole idea is there's a cycle of automation. And the automation really takes place down at the bottom level as well. There's lots and lots of, as we hear today, closed loopbacks. So what is this? There's individual areas of the network that are getting implemented first, whether it's at the customer service edge or the mobile core, mobile backhaul, security, etc. So when we ask the operators to tell us what are the most valuable applications for or services for that are based on SDN and NFV, but most valuable for new revenues, what we found was the top 2 are the virtual enterprise CPE, but SD-WAN this year was the top expected application to produce new revenue based on SDN and NFV. So pretty fascinating. And if we look at, I've redlined, and you all have my slides afterwards, but redlined the services that are aimed at enterprises. So certainly operators want to make money. The biggest constituency are enterprises. So then what we found from another study is where are the VNFs going to be executed? And so operators told us at a distant data center, 70% said that's where they'll be executing the VNFs. 85% said at a data center near a CO. 97% said we're planning to execute VNFs in COs somewhere. This smells like cord, doesn't it? So amazing, 97%, pretty big vote. But also 82% said they're going to execute VNFs on new devices that we call UCPE at the enterprise. Comcast and others are saying at the home as well. The VNFs get executed there, VNFs get executed there. And then just about cord, we asked the operators at the end of last year, are you planning to implement cord? Surprising number, 30% said this year we'll deploy cord or cord-like. Many people said cord-like, and another 40% in the future. Pretty big vote for cord, which how many COs have cord in them yet today? So we're getting close to the end of 2017. We may not make 30%. But in December last year, that was the intent. Okay, and then a note about UCPE as a new marketplace. We think there are going to be 20, 30,000 by the end of next year deployed. Operators at the end of last year thought there would be 20,000 deployed this year. We're not going to make that. But still, it's a very important new market segment. And with that, I think I'll keep myself on time. So with that, I'd like to say that operators all over the world are not only planning, they're doing SDN and NFV. The VNFs are going to be executed in a number of places, NCOs on UCPE, and with those majority numbers in each location, it means that VNFs must be able to migrate to those different places to be executed, perhaps even for a single customer at different locations. And we saw that the SDN and NFV services span the entire network, mobile core, customer edge, and the UCPE, our new market segment, not to be taken lightly, and there's a lot of vendors in this room that are producing new UCPE, and a lot of operators that are deploying at least a few of them this year, planning to deploy a lot later. With that, thank you.